Picture this. Two 18-year-olds finish year 12 at the same school in the same suburb. One of them packs up and heads to university. The other signs up for a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Fast forward to the day the university student finally graduates. He walks across the stage, degree in hand, ready to enter the workforce. And right there in the crowd, clapping for him, is his mate, who has already been earning a full-time income for 4 years, has zero debt, has accumulated industry experience, and is now pulling in over $90,000 a year. That scene is playing out all across Australia right now. And for a lot of people, it still does not compute. Because somewhere along the way, Australia absorbed a very specific story about success, that the path to a good life runs directly through a university degree. That without those 3 or 4 years of lectures and assignments and HECS debt, you were settling for something less. But the numbers tell a completely different story. Today we are going to walk through all of it. This is not about which path is morally superior, or which kind of work is more valuable to society. This is a factual, data-driven look at what is actually happening to earnings, debt, job security, and long-term financial outcomes in Australia right now. And by the time we're done, you might find yourself rethinking everything you thought you knew about the relationship between education and income in this country. Let us start with the most confronting number of all. According to the 2024 Graduate Outcome Survey, a large-scale national study of Australian graduates conducted annually by the government, the median salary for a domestic bachelor degree graduate in full-time employment, measured 4 to 6 months after finishing their degree, is $75,000 a year. That is across all fields of study. And that number becomes even more interesting when you look at specific disciplines. Business and management graduates are sitting at around $72,000. Law graduates at $76,000. Arts, humanities, and social sciences graduates closer to $69,000. Science graduates around the same range. Now compare that to what a qualified tradesperson earns. According to industry salary data compiled for 2025, the average tradesperson in Australia earns between $75,000 and $95,000 annually. Plumbers are sitting between $75,000 and $110,000. Electricians between $70,000 and $90,000 for employed workers, and up to $130,000 for those in high-demand locations like Western Australia. The average for the trades sector as a whole is consistently at or above the national average for all workers, which sits at around $72,000 a year according to the Australian Taxation Office. And here is the part that really shifts the picture. 1 in 10 tradies in Australia earns over $200,000 a year. Construction managers are clearing between $160,000 and $180,000 annually, plus project bonuses. In Queensland alone, which is building toward a construction pipeline estimated at $77 billion by 2027, partly linked to Olympic infrastructure, some large-scale project roles are offering up to $300,000. These are not outliers whispered about at industry events. These are advertised figures in a market that is desperately short of people. But before we go deeper into the earnings comparison, we need to talk about something that almost never gets factored into these conversations properly: time and debt. When a university student starts a 3 or 4 year degree today, they are not just investing time. They are taking on a financial liability that follows them into every major life decision they make afterward. The HECS help system means that for most domestic students, the upfront cost is deferred, not eliminated. The average HECS debt in Australia, as of recent years, sits around $26,000 to $27,000. But for students in longer, more expensive programs, that number climbs significantly. One woman quoted in national media described finishing a 6-year degree and finding herself facing an $88,000 HECS balance. The help loan limit for most students currently sits at $129,000. And then there is the indexation issue. In 2023, HECS debts were indexed at 7.1%, meaning a person with a $25,000 debt saw it jump by nearly $1,800 overnight, without having added a single new unit to their course. The public backlash was significant enough that the government moved to cap future indexation to whichever is lower between the Consumer Price Index and the Wage Price Index, and backdated some relief. But the underlying reality remains. HECS debt grows while you are studying. It grows while you earn below the repayment threshold, and it is deducted from your salary for years after you graduate, often right at the point when you're also trying to save for a home deposit. Meanwhile, an apprentice doing the same 4 years, they're getting paid. Not well at first. First-year apprentice wages under modern awards are modest, and that is a fair criticism of the system. But the trajectory is upward. By the 2nd and 3rd year of the apprenticeship, earnings increase. And critically, the whole time they are building experience, industry contacts, and a qualification that is immediately applicable to a job market that is actively desperate for them. Let us talk about that desperation, because it is not a small thing. According to the September 2025 Occupation Shortage Report from Jobs and Skills Australia, the national vacancy fill rate for skill level 3 occupations, which is the category that covers trades and technical roles, had dropped to just 54.3%. That means that for every 2 trade job vacancies advertised in Australia, only 1 is being filled. Nearly half of all trade roles are going unfilled. In regional areas, the picture is even more challenging, with some sectors reporting vacancy fill rates well below 60%. According to the same source, 139 occupations in Australia have been in persistent shortage for 5 years or more, and the majority of those are in construction, engineering, and technical trades. The federal government has publicly stated a target of building 1.2 million new homes across Australia by 2029. That target is already under serious pressure. As of late 2025, the country was already approximately 67,000 homes behind where it needed to be. Industry bodies including Master Builders Australia and the Housing Industry Association have pointed directly at trades shortages as a primary reason. The HIA's own survey of small business members found that 67% of respondents were having difficulty either recruiting new staff or holding on to existing workers. This is the economic environment a newly qualified tradie is walking into. Not a market where they are competing for scraps. A market that is calling out for them. For university graduates, the picture is more complicated. Across many fields, the graduate employment market is competitive in a very different way. Creative arts graduates, for example, had a full-time employment rate of just 48.84% within 4 to 6 months of graduation, according to the 2024 Graduate Outcomes Survey. That is fewer than half. Even in fields with higher employment rates, graduates often face a period of underemployment, contract work, or roles that require further experience before reaching the salary levels they anticipated when they enrolled. Now, to be precise here, there are degree pathways that do generate genuinely high starting salaries. Dentistry graduates are earning a median of $103,000 immediately out of their undergraduate programs. Medicine graduates are around $86,000, with the understanding that medicine involves years of further training and residency. Engineering undergraduates are sitting at around $80,000 at the 4 to 6 month mark. These are real and meaningful outcomes, and for the right person in the right field, university absolutely makes financial sense. But those are not the degrees most people are doing. The median matters. And the median bachelor degree graduate in Australia is earning $75,000, is carrying a HECS debt that will continue to be deducted from their salary for years, and entered the workforce 3 or 4 years later than the person who chose a trade. Let us do a rough but honest comparison. A person who starts an electrical apprenticeship at age 18 begins earning from day one, even if those early wages are modest. By the time they are 22 or 23, they are qualified and earning somewhere between $70,000 and $90,000. Over those 4 years, they have accumulated income, work experience, industry networks, and zero debt. They are also eligible for government incentive payments through programs designed to encourage apprenticeship completion, including $10,000 payments for those completing training in priority construction and energy trades. The university student who enrolled at the same time graduates at 22. They enter the workforce at around $75,000 median. And they carry a HECS debt that is deducted from their income each year at rates that start small but increase as earnings grow. The compulsory repayment threshold in 2025 to 2026 sits at $67,000, meaning anyone earning above that is already having a percentage taken from each paycheck. In terms of net financial position at the age of 25, the tradie is often significantly ahead. Not universally, and not in every scenario, but often enough that the assumption of university as the financially superior path simply does not hold up to scrutiny across the board. There's also the question of what happens over a career. For decades, the conventional wisdom was that a university education unlocks higher lifetime earnings, that even if the early years are tighter, the long-term premium more than compensates. And that was broadly true in a specific labor market context, one where a degree was relatively rare and where the paper signal it sent to employers carried enormous weight. Australia has moved significantly away from that context. In the decade between 2011 and 2021, the number of Australians with a university degree increased by almost 70%. The supply of graduates grew dramatically. At the same time, the supply of tradespeople did not keep pace. In fact, according to political analysis of apprenticeship data, Australia lost over 90,000 apprentices and trainees in a recent 3-year period, with construction trade new starts falling by around 30%. Basic economics says something very clear about what happens when supply shrinks and demand grows. Prices rise, and in this case, the price is wages. Experienced electricians with specialized licensing, say high-voltage certification or experience in the renewable energy sector, are commanding salaries in the range of $120,000 to $140,000. Senior plumbers with their own contracting businesses are doing comparable numbers. Construction managers with a decade of experience are hitting $160,000 and above. There are fiber optic splicers, a relatively niche but growing specialty, earning between $130,000 and $140,000 a year according to industry figures reported in late 2025. Compare that to the career trajectory of a median degree in business, arts, communications, or the social sciences. Salaries climb over time, certainly, but the competition is intense, progression is not guaranteed, and many roles in these fields have been affected by broader labor market changes, including the growing role of technology in automating knowledge-based tasks that graduates once trained for. Trades, by their nature, are significantly harder to automate or offshore. A licensed plumber has to physically be in the building. An electrician has to turn up to the site. A boilermaker doing maintenance on industrial equipment cannot do that job from a server farm overseas. The embodied, physical, location-specific nature of trade work is, in the current technological moment, one of its most important economic properties. There is also something worth saying about what the trades now represent in terms of entrepreneurship and wealth-building potential. Many experienced tradespeople do not stay as employees for their entire careers. They move into contracting, then into running their own businesses. An electrician who builds a team of 5 or 6 workers and maintains steady commercial contracts is not just earning their own salary. They are generating income from the work of others. A plumbing business with good systems and a reliable client base can generate revenues that are genuinely comparable to what university-educated professionals in management or consulting earn in large organizations, but with greater personal autonomy and without the corporate hierarchy. This pathway, apprenticeship, qualification, employment, contracting, business, is well established in Australia and is producing a cohort of trade-based business owners who are quietly building significant wealth. They are not on LinkedIn as frequently as the corporate professionals, but they are buying investment properties, running operations, and in many cases, setting their own schedules in ways that large organization employees cannot. One element that often gets overlooked is job satisfaction. Young Australians who completed their apprenticeships have reportedly rated their job satisfaction higher than those with postgraduate degrees in a number of surveys. The tangible nature of trade work, you can see the electrical panel you wired, the bathroom you plumbed, the roof you installed, provides a different kind of feedback than knowledge work. And for the people who are drawn to it, that daily sense of completion is genuinely valuable. None of this is to say university is the wrong choice for everyone. Medicine, law, dentistry, engineering, these fields have clear and meaningful professional pathways that require university qualifications. Research, academia, certain areas of finance and technology. These are fields where tertiary education is genuinely the right door to open. The point is not that one path is categorically better. The point is that the assumption that university is always the financially superior choice, that trades are a fallback rather than a forward-looking career decision, is being contradicted by actual data in Australia right now. The evidence says that a skilled tradesperson in Australia today is entering a market where demand is exceeding supply by a historic margin, where wages are rising in direct response to that imbalance, where the cost of training is a fraction of a university degree, where income begins during training rather than after it, and where the long-term business and entrepreneurial possibilities are genuinely substantial. And for a generation of Australians dealing with cost of living pressure, housing affordability stress, and the very real weight of HECS debt, those facts matter enormously. The numbers are not speculative. They are documented, published, and growing more pronounced every year. Australia is going to need tens of thousands of additional tradespeople to meet its housing targets, its infrastructure commitments, and its transition to renewable energy systems. The country is not currently on track to produce those workers fast enough domestically. That structural shortage is not resolving itself. And for the individuals who choose to move into trades right now, that shortage is leverage. Real, measurable, financially meaningful leverage in a job market that is calling out for exactly what they have to offer. The story that a degree is always the smarter financial move was never perfectly true. And in Australia in 2025 and 2026, it is harder to justify than at any point in recent memory. 2 18-year-olds finishing year 12. One goes to university, one starts an apprenticeship. The question of which one is making the better financial decision is no longer as straightforward as it once seemed. And for a lot of people, the answer might genuinely surprise you. If this kind of detailed, data-driven breakdown of how Australia actually works is the kind of content you want more of, then go ahead and subscribe. We dig into the numbers behind the headlines on topics like this every single week. No fluff, just the facts and the story behind them. Hit the subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one.